Okay, we're holding over here by BaOmer, which is a day in America which is shrouded in mystery. If you would see what's going on right now in Meron, still in Eretz Yisrael, you would see maybe, it looks like 100,000 people that are all together and they're dancing and they're singing the songs of Shimon bar Yochai. And here we are sitting in a little winkle over here, a little corner in Los Angeles, California. We don't see bonfires, we don't hear any music. And the day of BaOmer could come and it could go, and we could miss the entire impact of the day that we are standing in for the next 24 hours if we are zeicher. Which means there are koichais, there are certain powers that are in this day that if a person will just tap into them and they will link in to what is going on right now, we will be shocked to find how much we'll be able to accomplish Be'ez Hashem in the next 24 hours. Somebody sent me today a link from what was taking place in Meron of one of the great tzaddikim of our generation, who has become one of the biggest speakers, who's machazik. He gives inspiration and he gives strength to hundreds, if not thousands of people, probably every single week. And this is Rabbi Elimelech Biderman. And Rabbi Biderman said over the following. He's standing, you have to imagine, he's standing over there by the fires of Meron. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are there in front of him. And he says over the following. The Munkat Sharav says that the words Rabbi Shimon, which is who we are talking about tonight, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, the gematria of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai is Mechaya Mesim. Mechaya Mesim, which means he brings back to life. The gematria Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai is Mechaya Mesim, he brings back to life. And the Gemara says over the following item, and just to understand the level, the highness that Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai was on. If you look at his name, the name itself, the Shem Namaral teaches us the name of a thing or the name of a person is the essence of who that person is. So the gematria, the numerical value of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai's name is Mechaya Mesim, the ability to bring something dead that is back to life. And there are miraculous stories from Meron, from hundreds of years ago already. People that literally, once a child died at Meron during BaOmer, and the mother took the child into the private chambers of Shimon bar Yochai, and she said, Rabbi Shimon, I came here with a child that was alive to cut his hair. How could I walk home with a child that is dead? And after some time that was in there, suddenly the child comes back to life. He's Mechaya Mesim, he brings back to life. That's the essence of Rabbi Shimon. So the Gemara says,
he brings back life.
Of course not him. The Rebbeinu Shalom does it, but there's a certain pipeline, and there's a certain channel of koyach that's in this world that is coming over from this great Tana. So the Gemara says over the following. The Gemara says, Amar Rava said, do you lead the ime when a woman is giving birth, Rabbi Shimon to Yolid? She says that she should give birth like a Rabbi Shimon. When a woman gives birth, she says she should give birth like a Rabbi Shimon. Says Rashi, what does that mean? Kol she'ima yoledes, any woman who is giving birth, tevakesh rachamim, she should request mercy from Hashem. Yehi ratzah, may it be Hashem's will, she'yehei keRabbi Shimon, that my child should be like Rabbi Shimon. Ask the Munkacher Rebbe. We just finished telling you that the gematria Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai is Mechaya Mesim. We know that Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, we're going to see tomorrow night that there's a custom on BaOmer that we play with bows and arrows. What's the reason that we play with bow and arrows on BaOmer? Anybody knows?
The only explanation I ever heard was because he lived in the time of the Roman persecution of the Jews in Eretz Yisrael, where they forbid the public study of Torah, and it was kind of like similar to the Hanukkah story, that it's the light like the custom like playing dreidel that the Jews would hide in secret places to learn Torah, and when the Roman guards would come and see what they're doing, they would put their books away and start shooting bows and arrows.
Well, that is one answer, but the answer that is given, in the minhagim, in the customs why we do it is because as long as Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai was alive, so there never was a rainbow in the world.
Oh, right.
Whenever there is a rain, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts a rainbow in the sky, Chazal tell us that the rainbow is a sign that Hashem is very angry with the world right now, and He really wants to destroy it and bring a mabul, bring a flood, just like He did in the days of Noach. But He swore, He made a promise with the world, and He promised the world that He will never ever destroy it again the way that He did in the days of the mabul. As long as Rav Shimon, so whenever you see a rainbow, that's why a person's not supposed to stare at the rainbow. But whenever a person sees a rainbow, the reason it's supposed to make us realize Hashem is not happy with us. He really would love to destroy the world right now, but He can't because He promised that He wouldn't. As long as Rav Shimon bar Yochai was in the world, so there never ever was a rainbow in the sky, which means there never was a time in the world when Rav Shimon bar Yochai was alive that HaKadosh Baruch Hu ever got so angry with the world that He wanted to destroy it. Rav Shimon bar Yochai's schus, his merit, his level of ruchnius, of kedusha, his level of Torah, the whole Zohar is coming through Rav Shimon bar Yochai. His kedusha, where he learned in the cave for 12 years straight with his son Rabbi Lazar, and they didn't do anything, they didn't eat barely, they didn't sleep, they stood it with dirt up until their necks. They only had a carob tree and a little stream of water that was running by, and they learned Torah and Torah and Torah. When he came out of the cave, he burned up the entire world with his kedusha. So this Rabbi Shimon, the whole world was able to exist in his merit. Asked the Munkacher Rebbe, how is it possible that a mother, when she is yolid, she is giving birth, she is davening to the Rebbeinu Shalom, let my son be like Rav Shimon bar Yochai. Rav Shimon bar Yochai was Mechayim Mesim. Rav Shimon bar Yochai, that the entire world exists in his merits. That's the kind of a child that we're asking for. We have even the chutzpah to ask for such a thing. So Rav Elimelech Biederman wanted to say, yes, 100%. 100% because the schus of Rav Shimon bar Yochai is so great, especially on this day of BaOmer over here, that anyone that wants to latch on to this koyach of Mechayim Mesim, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can take a person, push it dead. You know, we come in the shul sometimes Friday night, you don't stand where I stand on Friday night, so you don't see what I see. But if I look half as bad as everybody in the shul on a Friday night, it's embarrassing. We come into the shul Friday night, we sit down in our seats, maybe the first time we sat down all day long, and it's Machayim Mesim Shabbos, supposed to revive us and bring us back to life. A person has a Yom Tov that comes upon them. They've been working and busy all day long, all week long, all month long, all 6 months long. Between Sukkot and Pesach, a person doesn't take a break. They don't rest. Comes the beautiful Yom Tov of Pesach, it's a Mechayim Mesim. It brings a person back to life in this world. Said Rabbi Elimelech Biederman, the kedusha that we find in the days of Lag BaOmer, on the day of Lag BaOmer, this ability that a person has on this day is that just as Rav Shimon bar Yochai was a Mechayim Mesim, he brought the dead back to life. The whole schus of the world was resting on his shoulders. If a person will tap in to this kedusha, to this koyach that is there, so that a person could accomplish in these 24 hours something that they cannot accomplish and they cannot achieve the rest of the year at all. And that is, if there's anything in a person's life that needs a Mechayim Mesim, whether it's health, whether it's children, whether it's parnasa, whether it's well-being, whether it's kedusha, whether it's self-confidence, whatever it is in a person's life that is drowning, that doesn't have life to it, that is dying out, on Lag BaOmer, he's talking over there by Meron, they're standing by the fires. He says if a person will be mispalo by the fires, they'll daven by the fires will literally burn everything out of them. On Sunday, I was zeicher to take my two little children to a children's museum. And in this museum, they have a reptile, they have an insect room, and different cages and different tanks filled with insects. And one of the tanks that is there is the Madagascar hissing cockroach. Not the kind of thing I think that even Raid could take care of. It's not what you want to find crawling on the floor in your house. It is the biggest, largest cockroach that I've ever seen in my entire life. It has a shell that looks like it could go out to war if it needed to. It's got dozens and dozens of legs underneath that are crawling all over the place. You got the point already. So we're watching in this tank, fascinated by these things. They're clumping up together in groups, and one kind of goes off on his own, and he is climbing up a little incline inside of this tank. And suddenly he loses his footing. One of his 100 of feet lost its footing, and he flips back all the way down, and he ends up on his back. And I'm watching this big cockroach now lying on its back, and I'm wondering to myself, how is it going to turn over? No one's here to flip it over. How is this big insect going to get itself over? So there's a fascinating thing. The minute that it flipped onto its back, its legs start moving out of control. They don't stop. Moving and moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. And as his legs are moving, the I guess we'll call it the velocity and the kinetic energy that's there inside of its legs, it's giving motion to his body to get his body to start moving as well. And as his body is every millimeter is inching over, suddenly at one point his legs are able to lean down a little bit. He gets his footing, so to speak, into the moss that is there. And the next thing I know, he flips over part of himself. And the next thing I know, he flips over the rest of himself. And before that, he's all back on all of his legs. And he's back on his legs, and he's moving around once again. He falls on his back. It looks like it's doomsday for the Madagascar hissing cockroach, but the legs keep moving. He doesn't stop, and he's able to turn himself back over, and he's going once again full steam ahead. It reminded me of the pasuk that we say that Sheva Yipol Tzadik, a righteous man falls 7 times, and he gets right back up. And in the grammar of Lashon HaKodesh, of the Hebrew language that everybody knows, so the real grammar should be Sheva Yipol Tzadik, a righteous man will fall 7 times, V'yakum, and he will get up. The language over here is a tzaddik falls 7 times, V'kom, and right now he is getting up, which means that as the righteous man is falling, that's the time. He doesn't delay. He doesn't wait till he falls on his back and then he starts getting up. The righteous man is falling, and as he's falling already become, he's already getting up. This, said Rabbi Elimelech Biederman, without seeing the cockroach over there in the Children's Museum, is the koyach of Lag BaOmer. The koyach of Lag BaOmer is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a machaya mesim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes the dead. He takes the deflated. He takes the brokenhearted. He takes the sick. He takes the wayward souls. He takes the nebachs of this world. He takes the miskanim, those that are broken. He takes them, and if a person wants to, and the mispalel, and they daven, and they light up the fires, they ignite the fires that are there inside of them, HaKadosh Baruch Hu turns everything around on this day, and he brings a person back to so much strength and so much energy, powers and abilities and potentials that he didn't even know that he had. And this is really also the day the Arizal writes, the day that Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim stopped dying was Lag BaOmer. So imagine Rabbi Akiva. We spoke a little bit about it on Shabbos. Imagine Rabbi Akiva. This is a man who started at 40 years old as an Amma Aretz. He knew nothing. He went off to learn in yeshiva 12 years. He comes back home. He's about to knock on the door. His wife says, oh, if my husband wanted to go and learn another 12 years, I'll gladly let him go. He turns around. He goes back to yeshiva another 12 years. 24 years later, Rabbi Akiva comes into town. He's flanked by thousands and thousands of students. He is the Gadol Hadur, the leader of the entire generation. After that, he and his wife go back into Yerushalayim, and he's got the greatest and the largest yeshiva, 24,000 students, future of Klal Yisrael. These are going to be the Marbitzei Torah, the disseminators of all of the Torah for all generations. And in a strange twist of events, HaKadosh Baruch Hu lets out a gzera, a decree, that from Pesach until Lag BaOmer, all 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva are going to die. From an unusual death, a sakra, it's going to go up and from their stomach all the way into their throat. Diphtheria, it's going to kill them, strangle them, without anybody even touching them. 700, I think if you do the math, it's about 750 deaths every single day. That means 750 levayas that he had to go to. 750 hespedim, eulogies he had to give. 750 shiva houses that he had to go to every single day. And at the end of 33 days, as he goes and he walks into the Beis HaMidrash, there's not a single soul that is left. Now, you're Rabbi Akiva. Imagine you have a business, and your business is quite successful for many, many, many years, and then in 33 days, you go bankrupt completely. There's not a penny left to your name. You don't have a customer, you don't have an employee, you have nothing left. And you're sitting there with all balancing the checkbooks and the numbers, and you realize you are not in the red, you are in dark red over there. There's nowhere you can go. What do you do with your life at that point? What do you say to yourself when you look in the mirror? What do you say to your wife when you look at her and you say, well, we've got big troubles over here. I don't know how we're going to pay the bills this month. I don't know what I'm going to do for business anymore. I don't know what's going to be. What did Rabbi Akiva look at when he looked at himself in the mirror after 33 days of his entire life's work? All of the Mesiras Nefesh, all those years, destroyed, nothing. The Arizal says, what did Rabbi Akiva do? Rabbi Akiva was like the great Madagascar hissing cockroach, lahavdil, alfei elef havdalos. His legs kept kicking. He didn't despair. He didn't get down. He didn't start cursing himself and his life and all the wasted years and the rebunishment for all the things. Why, Hashem? Why'd you do that? He didn't ask a single question. The Gemara says that Rabbi Akiva got up and he went to Rabbi Seinu Shebedarim. He went to our great rabbis in the south, and he found 5 new Talmidim. Amongst them, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, Rabbi Meir Balanes, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yossi. And he found these 5 new Talmidim, and he began to teach them all the Torah. Now, you have to imagine, he's walking in the town, and he says, I want to start a new yeshiva. Rabbi Akiva, what happened to your other yeshiva? Well, it's a long story, just everybody died. What can I tell you? But we're going to start a new yeshiva today. And these 5 Talmidim were dedicated to the cause of reinstating and re-imbuing Kol HaTorah Kula into the world. Says the Arizal, when did Rabbi Akiva make this decision? How long did it take Rabbi Akiva to get over the depression of the failure that he was, that his entire life was shattered into shambles? Didn't even take a second. On Lag BaOmer itself, this day, that all the students stopped dying, Rabbi Akiva got himself up and he went and he said, I'm going to keep building Torah, I'm not stopping. Sheva Yipol Tzaddik, a righteous man, falls 7 times. They come, he just keeps going. He doesn't stop. As he's falling, he's already getting up and moving in the right direction. This is the day of Lag BaOmer. A person on Lag BaOmer, everybody has areas in their life that need chizuk. Everybody has areas in their life that need tchias amesim. They need to be revived. Everybody has areas. It could be a mitzvah. It could be our davening. It could be our learning. It could be our shalom bayis. It could be our chinuch habanim. It could be our health. It could be the way we deal with people. It could be our ches. It could be anything. On this day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so kind, and He's so close, and He's so benevolent. He says that in the schos of the Tana Rashbi of Rav Shimon bar Yochai, who was a Machaya Mesim, in the schos of a Rebbe Akiva, who showed Klal Yisrael that you are always determined, you never stopped, you keep going. If we will be the same, and we will try, and we will make the effort on this day, a person cannot even be masig, they cannot imagine what it is exactly that we are going to reach and what we're going to achieve. And he told over the following story, which took place 3 years ago, on Lag BaOmer itself. There was a woman in Yerushalayim HaKodesh. She woke up one morning and she felt a tremendous pain and pressure in her eye. And she never felt anything like this before, and she noticed that her eyesight seemed to be waning. She wasn't able to see as clearly as she did previously. Obviously, she got very nervous. So she ran to the doctor, and she tells the doctor, I have this unbearable pressure in my eye. I feel like my eye is going to explode, and my eyesight is dimming. I can't see like I saw before. So the doctor, on Lag BaOmer morning, he sends her for a CT, for a CT scan, and he tells her the results will be in tomorrow. Come back to my office tomorrow. She takes the entire scan. She's there in pain. She can barely see, and she says, you know what? She's a Hasidah. Her family's a Hasidish, a family from the Toldos Aaron Hasidus. And in Meron, on Lag BaOmer, the Toldos Aaron Rebbe has a very big maimed, a lot of thousands of Hasidim that are there. He lights the hadlach, the fire, and they sing and they dance and they mispalel. She says, I need to go to Meron, and I need to be by the Rebbe, and I need to be by that hadlach, by that fire. I need to daven for myself. She gets on a bus. She's in pain. She's not seeing so well. It's a long trek. If anybody knows, once the streets start filling up between Yerushalayim and Meron, it takes a long time to get there. There's congestion, everything. But she gets there. She gets off the bus. She can barely see by the time she gets there. She's asking people directions. They're pushing her in this direction, that direction. Finally, she makes her way to the hadlaka, to the lighting of the Toldos Aaron Rebbe. And there she is. She tries to open up a Tehillim. She can't even see the words of Tehillim anymore. But she begins davening, please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the schus of Rashbi, of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, the tzaddik, please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, heal me. Take care of my eyesight. Bring me back to where I was before. After she cries her eyes out by the hadlaka, by the lighting, by the fires, she makes her way into the caver, into the graveside, the room where the tomb of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai is. And there she is again. She can't see. She can barely read the words of Tehillim. She's davening and davening and davening and davening and asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu that He should save her. No change. She gets back on a bus that night. She heads back to Yerushalayim, to her home. She goes into her house, gets into her bed, and she goes to sleep. In the morning, she wakes up, and she opens her eyes, and right away she realizes she doesn't feel the pressure that she was feeling yesterday. And she opens her eyes, she starts looking around, and lo and behold, she's able to see clearly. Not a little bit better, not 40% better, or 80% better. Her eyesight has restored to exactly what it was before this whole thing afflicted her eye the last few days. She wakes up, she can't believe her luck, her fortune. That's really the Lag BaOmer is, of all the nights of the sphere, every single night is a different night. It's Hayid Shebahayid. It's the splendor or the glory of the glory, but Hayid is also Lashon of Haydah. It's the gratitude of the gratitude. It's the admittance of the admittance. It's the recognition of the recognition, where a person is able to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu and what He does so clearly. She goes to the doctor, and the doctor calls her into the room, and he pulls out the CT scan, and he says, come here. And he says, do you see this? Do you see this blotch on your eye? Your eye is so infected. This is pikuach nefesh right now. Your life is in danger. If this explodes and erupts, you're going to lose your eyesight forever. We must do a surgery immediately. She says, but why, doctor? He said, because you're pikuach nefesh. But my eye doesn't hurt anymore today. What are you talking about? And I can see everything clearly. Miss, do you see the picture in the scan over here? You have an infection that is life-threatening. You need to take a surgery immediately. She said, doctor, I went yesterday to Meron on BaOmer, and I davened by the cave of the Rashbi of Shimon bar Yochai, and I asked the Ribbono Shel Olam that he should give me a refuah shalema and heal me. And I'm telling you today, the pain has gone away, and I see everything clearly. He says, what are you talking about? Look at the CAT scan. She said, that was before Meron. Today is after Meron. He begins running tests on her, tests her eyesight. Can she see? He said, I don't understand. I do not understand, but you're seeing right now. He says, okay, for the next 7 weeks, until Tisha B'Av, you need to come back to me every single week, and I need to examine and test your eyes to make sure that this is for real. And sure enough, every week she came back without fail, and every week she passed the eye exam with flying colors. And the end of 7 weeks, right before Tisha B'Av, he says, garnished, you have nothing in your eye, go home, you're good to go. However, that's not the end of the story. This woman and her husband were married for many years, and they never had a child. And 9 months from Lag BaOmer, they were zeiche to have a healthy baby boy. And where was the bris and the Shalom Zachar celebrated? Of course, in the Beis Midrash of the Toldos Aaron Rebbe. This is the Mechayim Mesim. This is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu infuses life in a person. As bad and as dark and as difficult as it looks, a person has no idea where it's coming from. A person knows that on Lag BaOmer, just as it's the Hilula, it's the Yortzeit of Shimon bar Yochai, who is Mechayim Mesim, and just like it is the day of valiancy of Rabbi Akiva, that he never gave up for a second, rather, even after he fell, the kami was getting up. Every single one of us, if we want, if we daven, could be it's kedai to go to the fires tonight, just to be able to be mispala by the fires, to daven by the fires, to burn out whatever waste, to burn out whatever mason, whatever death is there, to burn out whatever brokenness, whatever health, whatever there is there, burn it out. But of course, if we don't go to the fires, then at least we have to ignite and we have to burn the fires that are inside of us. And if a person does that, then Be'ez Hashem, as Rashi writes over here, he rotzai, may it be HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will, Sheikh Rabbi Shimon, that we ourselves, we're already born into this world, but we should also have the koyach the Rabbi Shimon. The koyach the Rabbi Shimon is that a person realizes no matter what has happened, it's never too late, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu can change and turn over worlds in the schus of tzaddikim, in the schus of our heritage, in the schus of our Torah, in the schus of our emunah. If a person is a maimon, they believe in the koyach of the Ribbono Shel Olam, HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do anything that He wants for us, for our loved ones, for our families, for our children, for our kehilos, for Klal Yisrael. And Be'ez Hashem, we'll see the ultimate of the Tchias HaMesim with the Bias Goyal Tzedek B'mheira v'yameinu.
Amen.